On this week's GTA 6 o'clock, GTA 6 is less than 12 months away, hidden Easter eggs that could return, and Shakespeare comes to GTA Online. It's all here on this week's GTA 6 o'clock. Hello and welcome to episode 49 of GTA 6 o'clock, the world's most in-depth and best connected GTA 6 show. And this week we are celebrating. There are many reasons for this, of course. It's close to our first birthday. But yet again, maybe more so, Take-Two has reconfirmed that GTA 6 will be released in the fall of 2025. We are about to get into all the details, but first, Dan is here as my co-host. Dan, which of these two things are you most excited about?
And what are the two things?
Take-Two reconfirming. Dan is really on the ball today, listeners. Take-Two reconfirming GTA 6 is coming fall 2025.
Yeah.
Or our first birthday is coming up.
I mean, clearly our birthday. I mean, why would I care about one of the biggest entertainment releases of all time? And we can celebrate an arbitrary 52-week anniversary.
Correct.
Yes, correct.
Well, one of these things we can guarantee is going to happen before the other one. And that is probably going to be our first birthday.
Yes.
Which is just 3 weeks away. But that reconfirmation came in the Take-Two earnings call that happened last week. It was happening as last week's show was going out. We predicted that what was most likely going to happen is that they would say everything is still on track, or at least not mention that things weren't on track.
Yeah.
That is almost exactly what happened. Just before we jump into the analysis of that call, I think it's important to note that on the most public-facing level, which is trailer one, the thing that 250 million people have seen, the only thing that is mentioned on that trailer is coming 2025 as a release date. It's only people who follow the Investor Call and excellent podcasts like GTA 6 o'clock that sort of are aware of the fall 2025 window currently. So I would predict, as we're talking about trailers, if we're going to get one, even if it says fall 2025, that is still like a public-facing announcement of a narrower release window. Do you see what I mean? Do you see what I'm getting at?
No, I totally do. I obviously for Rockstar, when the trailer came out in December 2023, they had to hedge their bets. So they were like, it's this year. And even that for them is quite good to pin it down to 12 months. And maybe I think there was a stage where we were, I was going to use the word vacillating, which is horrifically wordy, but vacillating back and forth between, could it even sneak into like the prior fiscal year, which ends in March 31st and still technically be 2025? No is the answer, as we know, because we follow the investor calls, and they've now settled on this full date. So I think, when they eventually confirm that, I guess this is a degree of precision which they go in on. So they could confidently say fall 2025 in their next trailer. Do they go a step further and say day X 2025? That feels bold to me.
Yeah, even
too
month
bold.
X.
Yeah.
I think what I was trying to get at is I think people are expecting maybe trailer 2 to nail a date, to say, like coming September 23rd.
Yeah.
I can't see a world in that happening. I can see them saying fall 2025, which to some people would be an improvement on just 2025.
Well, it is.
They'll be like, okay, at least now I know.
You've increased the precision by 75% because you've narrowed it down to 3 months out of 12.
Yeah.
So it's definitely better.
It's just for people like us, we've been talking about fall 2025 for 6 months.
It no longer feels new. The good news for us is, again, we're celebrating the good news that what we believed to be true last week is still true.
Yes. So let's jump into some of the investor call stuff. I'm sure you've made some notes. One of the things to take out from it was Take-Two said they expect record levels of net bookings for fiscal 2026 and 2027, which to me further implies that by fiscal 2026, GTA 6 will be out and pulling in a whole load of microtransactions from people buying shark cards or whatever the equivalent of that is. So this is a good sign for us, again, that maybe we are still heading for fall 2025.
Yeah, I think it feels fairly unequivocal that the intention is to aim for fall 2025. Revenues increasing through FY27, which will be, oh my God, Check's brain, like March 31st, 2026 onwards. What they're essentially saying is, the Death Star will be fully operational, as in GTA Online will be up and running and getting us all to buy shark cards or whatever the new version of it is. That feels kind of self-evident because even with GTA 5, it wasn't that long to wait between online and the single player release. So, like, again, this is another podcast in itself, and we've talked about it before, and we don't know. Will it launch day and date? TBC. But will it be ready by the next fiscal year? Yeah, of course.
Yes. Another interesting thing to note is that Strauss Zelnick said that they were going to avoid their other releases. Now, that's pretty obvious, but they did note that GTA 6 will not cross paths with the release of Borderlands 4. Now, Borderlands 4 is set to be out between April the 1st, 2025 and March the 31st, 2026. That's obviously a huge window, a year.
Yes.
It's Take-Two's 2026 fiscal year. But Strauss Zelnick said, I think it's safe to say that we wouldn't, and no one would, stack up huge releases unnecessarily. So predicting Borderlands is going to come out sometime later in 2025, or it could come out, April, May. It's probably not going to, given the timelines that we're up against here. I think that maybe suggests that to try and narrow that window down even more, it puts fall 2025 into a better picture for GTA 6. It means they can get that done, wait another 6 months, then release Borderlands 4. Then they've got, also in 2025, Mafia: The Old Country, Civilization 7, which is set for February 2025, definitely coming out in February. And then they've got their annual releases like NBA 2K.
Yeah.
So they've got quite a full calendar. And if they're expecting not to put huge releases alongside each other, doesn't leave that much room in 2025 if, for example, GTA slips outside of its fall, 2026, I meant.
Yeah, you're right. And again, this is one of my famously terrible analogies. I think, like, you would send the rolling ball into another set of dominoes and smash them all up, right? Because it's just a disaster for what you're planning to do in those other zones. Like, if GTA slips and then it's head-to-head with Borderlands, it's just a carnivorous effect you don't want. So I think, just all signs, like you say, point to a fair degree of confidence that GTA will hit in fall 2025. There was nothing I've scanned from the call that made me suspicious of that. So there's interesting things to pull out, I think, about GTA and Take-Two generally. But yeah, the call was refreshingly low on fear factor. So for us, that's great. And that's what we said last week. We said something in the tea leaves suggested it was going to be steady as she goes.
Yeah. Is there anything else significant we should pull out before moving on?
Well, I love a financial call. So,
I know. That's why.
So I've spent a bit of time this morning going through some different statements that may or may not be interesting to people. So, like, something as interesting as a trend piece. It was remarked upon, but in a broader sense, how Take-Two's Q2 was going really well. So that's kind of like June, July, August. That's sort of 3 months from June, right? They said net bookings were 1.47 billion at the top end of our guidance range. It says it was driven by the continued success of GTA and the Borderlands franchises. Now, digging deeper, they said that, like, sales of GTA had increased. So GTA is now up at 205 million units worldwide, which is, just a number that becomes unfathomable and incredible. And they also talked about GTA Online, in a very broad sense, having an uptick. And then they dialed much more into that, talking about some of the content packs that have driven it. So they verbally called out, they said, GTA Online also exceeded our plans, driven by sustained engagement with the summer content pack, bottom dollar bounties, and an array of updates, including the multi-stage assault on ATT 16 mode And they also called out the fact that they put the anti-cheat system in the PC version, which again is, shows what a significant factor that is. They talked about GTA Plus membership growing by 35%. The thing was notable is in their last financial call, they predicted a softness in GTA Online. So I think Take-Two continued to be surprised themselves by the durability of GTA Online. And we've talked about this on a call on one of our shows just 2 or 3 weeks ago, where we talked about the zombie mode. And we were saying that they predicted you had to kill a certain number of zombies. And they were like, scratch that, it's actually 10 times bigger or whatever it was.
40 million up to like 800 million.
Yeah. So they're constantly, it behooves them to be cautious, but GTA Online keeps knocking it out of the park. Now, they do in a broader sense in this call. They did talk about we still expect softness. They're still trying to downplay expectations. I think they're just hoping that, secretly there's going to be more upside on it.
Yeah. I did nearly put in the GTA sales stats into our notes to talk about, but then I was like you say, it's a huge number. And then I was like, well, who's still buying GTA 5?
Yeah.
But it turns out, I guess, people get older. And as people get older, they buy it themselves or they get bought it for their birthday at a certain point. Like, I'd hope it was when they were 18, but sometimes it isn't. And there's, that is just an ongoing cycle of people wanting to play the big game.
Kids who might have been 5 or 6 when GTA 5
playing
came
GTA
out.
5?
Well, no, but now will be old enough to play it. So, the
yes,
the toddlers of yesteryear are now entering GTA Online time. I've got older kids. My eldest kid is 16. He's not playing GTA Online yet. He's not showing any interest in it. But I feel like it's waiting over the horizon for him.
Yeah.
Once they sort of break out of the life cycle of Minecraft, Fortnite, Apex, is GTA waiting over the rainbow for them? That it's just going to keep selling and selling.
And then you get to have the fun conversation of, I need to buy a new shark card, please.
Well, yeah.
And
that's
I've run out of money.
That's happened with how necessary is it really to have the latest Fortnite skin? Now, I've been informed that it is actually really necessary.
Quite necessary. Yeah,
it is quite necessary.
Yeah.
Worse now that they let you buy trainers. That's another terrible blow for me. So anyway, I digress. This is not a Fortnite thing. Now, you've said it out loud. Just to restate the words, Carl Slatoff, the president of Take-Two, was invited in the call. He was the one who said the words we all wanted to hear. So he said, looking ahead, we expect fiscal 2026 to be a milestone year as we plan to release several blockbusters, including GTA 6 in the fall of 2025. So he said it out loud, once. Again, which is great. Something James and I were talking about outside of the call, this may and may not be interesting to you. Take-Two owned Private Division, the indie label. There was an interesting aside in the call where they basically said, we have sold Private Division, and it's to an unknown buyer. They've essentially picked up all of the existing assets. And also, like we were saying off the call, actually not many of them are that active. It might be like Rollerdrome, or it might be something like Ollie Ollie World.
Yeah.
Great games, but whether they're as active online, it was the revenue assigned to them was described as immaterial. Which is quite interesting. But, they're $1 billion company, so it's, fine. Yeah. But No Rest for the Wicked is sort of being supported for the interim. So I thought that was quite interesting. There was an interesting aside from Lainey Goldstein, the CFO, who just reiterated, I always find this staggering because you think of Rockstar, GTA, biggest game in the world, in terms of Take-Two's overall revenue and scale, 51% of Take-Two is Zynga and mobile games, which is amazing. And then 32% is 2K, and Rockstar is only 17%. It would be interesting to revisit that ratio next year.
Yes. I mean, it does show how big a company Take-Two is, in relation to the studios that they own. But it's still even that percentage is still a significant amount of money. But yes, once that game comes out, I imagine, once GTA 6 comes out, I imagine those percentages might change slightly.
Now, there was lots of interesting questions from some analysts. At the end, analysts always ask, some people are obsessed with NBA. Here's some NBA questions. Some people ask almost slightly cowardly questions where they want to ask a question, but they're afraid to actually say it. So someone had couched a question to, I don't want to accuse anyone of being cowardly, but I've just done it now.
And here's this week's special guest.
Yes. But someone had asked Strauss-Zelnick at the end, essentially lots of words about, how do you see the industry changing? There's lots of things changing in technology. So he did everything apart from use the words artificial intelligence. And how could that change your development processes? Now, Strauss-Zelnick rather masterfully concocted about 5 paragraphs of words that meant nothing. And then he said, I guess directly addressing the analyst question, he just said, now he says, will that become harder? As in, will it all become harder, more complex, more expensive, despite advances in technology? And then he said, notably generative AI. So he called it out. And he went, yes. He said, yes, it will. And he says, that's the history of the entertainment business. He says, but if you get it right, the opportunity is extraordinary. And we're trying really hard to get it right. Lots of words that mean nothing. Again, but it's interesting. I think he was saying to the guy, I know you're asking about AI and I'm indirectly addressing it, but there's no update. On a similar note, he was asked about PS5 Pro and Switch 2. Lots and lots of words. And he said, we don't tend to comment meaningfully on the decisions of the hardware makers, except to say that successful platforms benefit the business. And we support successful platforms. We don't have any product announcements to make. We don't make these announcements on these calls, as you know. Mike.
Oh,
so
Mike.
Mike got properly called out there.
Don't ask that again, Mike.
Now, what Strauss did say is, and he says, as with regards to Switch, my view was never count Nintendo out. Now, that in itself says nothing. The fact it's added at all, I don't think is insignificant, because nothing is accidental on these calls, because Strauss-Zelnick is aware that maniacs like me will pore over them. More to the point, analysts are poring over them, looking for financial clues. There's a thing, this is a sidebar, but like when the Federal Reserve in the US announced interest rates, there are like hidden code words that they include in their forward-looking statements that analysts go, nod, I know that means you're going to cut the next time around, or nod is this. And I think it's the same with analyst calls. So it just feels significant that he would want to at least call out Nintendo. I'm not saying GTA 6 is coming to Switch 2. And it's not me even hinting that. I'm not saying that.
I'm definitely not saying that either, for the record.
Yeah, exactly. I don't think that's. I don't think that's true at all. Well, I don't think it's true, because we don't know anything about Switch 2, really. You know, like we've read the rumors and you get a sense of it, but it still feels, all right, a console that might be like Xbox Series S powered-ish, right?
I mean, I can see some of their other titles coming to Switch 2, but not GTA 6.
It seems enlightening. But my segue I was building to is, again, an analyst danced around the idea of, is Xbox Series S too rubbish to run Xbox, to run GTA 6? And so again, Strauss-Zelnick got him to say out loud what he was getting at after loads of dancing around it. So he said, after he was asked to correct it, he said, well, I just mean that Series S is by design a lower spec console, and presumably GTA 6 will push a lot of boundaries technically. So Strauss just said, yeah, look, we support the platforms where the consumers are for as long as they're there. And we find a way to support platforms despite different levels of tech. Our labels are really good at that. I'm not really worried. So, if I was to infer anything, I would say it's coming out on S.
Yes.
That's
not unexpected.
That's not unexpected, right? But then, again, this is me talking myself into it as I go. If Switch 2 is S-powered, question mark, is it possible? Do I think it's in the launch plan? No. But at some point, is there something on Switch? I don't know. Again, that's just complete wild speculation. The only other things to pull out was that they had a slide in one of their presentations talking about the size of Take-Two dev teams. The Take-Two total number of devs has gone up about 700 people this year. The last time
they can't make a lot of games.
Well, they make a lot of games, and it could just be accretive across all their different divisions. It could be the fact they've basically absorbed Gearbox now in its entirety. But when they absorbed Zynga in 2022, that put like another 2,000 employees on. My dream thing would be they brought a load of people on to help finish GTA 6, but I think you can't prove that. It could just be it's gone all across the business. The good takeaway from the call was, steady as she goes, it's looking good for us.
All of which brings us around to, as we've discussed over the last few weeks, what might be coming down the line this year. From the dates that we have suggested, I think there are 2 dates left for a trailer announcement that then leads into a trailer this year. Those dates would be November the 22nd, which would hit the teased cycle of the moon that we talked about in last week's episode, or December the 4th/5th, which would be the 1-year anniversary of trailer 1. Nice significant milestone to hit. 1 year later, here's the second trailer. I think now those are probably the only 2 dates we have left. The 22nd of November is when this podcast goes out, about a week and a bit away. So that's exciting / terrifying. Or we've got 3 weeks before something happens. If nothing happens on those dates, we're slipping into 2025. And I think I'm going to put this statement out there. If we see a trailer this year, the game will come out in 2025. If we don't get a trailer this year, I fully expect that a trailer or some screenshots will come with a delay announcement in February to March 2025. So there you are. Trailer this year or no dice.
Yeah, and my tea leaves gut is trailer this year, and I like the week before the Game Awards, I think, which is like you said, we said the 5th. I think like the 5th, the 10th, possibly the 12th. The 13th is the Game Awards. So I'm going to say 5th or 10th. He says.
Well, I was going 5th for an announcement that the trailer is coming next week.
Yeah.
So announcement on the 5th, trailer on the 10th.
Yeah, that's perfect.
Perfect.
Yeah.
There you go.
That's
Rockstar
confirmed.
marketing team.
Confirmed.
Don't worry about that. We've sorted all that out. Just send it to us first. We'll check it and make sure it's good to go. All right, then, Dan, we're going to move on to something a little bit more fun. Not that, numbers and spreadsheets
I've had an awful lot of fun, so I don't know what you're on about. How fun can this bit be?
And all your financial analysis wasn't fun, but this is just a different type of fun. We've had an email from Brian who says, "Hey there, guys. Huge fan. Just curious if you think there will be any GTA Vice City Easter eggs, and if so, what would you like to see return from Vice City?" And that was sent from his iPhone. It's a bit of interesting thing there. Now, actually, just before we get on to talking about Easter eggs, I just want to say, now, obviously, we had an interview with Brian Hinchcliffe a few weeks ago that you spent some time talking to him. How is everyone misquoting the interview that we did about the Mount Chiliad mystery? I have seen numerous headlines from parts of the gaming media and Twitter and Reddit using that quote we had from Ben, who, if you didn't listen to it, he's an ex-Rockstar designer, worked on previous GTAs, and was at Rockstar for quite a long time. He said that sometimes we put things in to mess with people in relation to Easter eggs, and people are taking that quote and attaching it to the Mount Chiliad mystery, even though that I'm sure the line before that, he says, well, actually, I wasn't part of the Mount. When you asked him about Mount, he was like, I'm not actually part of that. That was designed by a different studio.
I do remember that. He specifically said that wasn't his thing.
Yeah, so unfortunately, that's something I didn't really touch upon. I think that was all more up at the Rockstar North guys that kind of dealt with that. But obviously, there's always a desire to put in these really complex Easter egg hunts and trails that the really dedicated players will follow. And some, as with all Easter eggs, sometimes you just put them in to mess with people. They don't actually do anything. You just mess with people, right?
Well, that is not what the internet is now reporting, because we are putting those two things together and going, of course we are. The mystery has been solved. Yeah. Ex-Rockstar designer says, we just put things in to mess with people.
Do they, what, in relation to Mount Chiliad?
Yes. It's all over the internet.
Well, this is not news for anyone, but like, this is unfortunately how things spread, because it sounds truthy. You put the two together and go, X website did it and it did traffic. We're going to say the same, because the quotes are sort of there and I've just got to join the dots on them. Yeah. That's not the context I took away from it. You're absolutely right to call it out.
No, I think it's worth noting that, loyal listeners, That is not the case. So if you see those headlines, I don't think those two things are connected. He explicitly said he didn't work on that specific part of the game, so he wouldn't know about it. He just said that there are some Easter eggs in there that are put in to mess with people. And he wasn't even, I don't think, even referencing GTA 5 in that case. It's like the broad case of Easter eggs in the games that he has worked on. You're like, yeah, sometimes we put things in for fun, which, I think most studios do. But anyway, I just wanted to clarify that point. And that I think there's another Mount Chiliad theory anyway about it being a hint towards the DLC packs that were planned for GTA 5, which actually ended up not happening. So you've got like the jetpack symbol, which relates to the Agent Trevor thing that ultimately became the Doomsday heist. You've got the Alien Invasion DLC that was planned and then cancelled.
Yeah.
Would be a reference to the UFO. The alien's a bit abstracty. Like you could say that was the prologue DLC that was cancelled. And all of those things at the bottom was just a hint towards what might be to come that actually never was.
Well, I think amongst a certain strand of the GTA community, this theory is accepted to almost be true. And I think it is that the Mount Chiliad mystery was supposed to deliberately lead into the DLC packs we never got. And hence why the Doomsday heist let us fly the jetpack out of Mount Chiliad, because that was, you're not getting what we really intended to do, but here's
You're
a jetpack,
most
folks.
Of it. Yeah.
Here's a jetpack. That's GTA's answer to everything. Forget about that. Have a jetpack.
I mean, it works.
Yeah, I love. Who doesn't love a jetpack? Who doesn't love like hovering into the grove on a jetpack?
Yeah.
But yeah, I think that sounds, again, you don't know this to be a fact. It just feels true. And like clearly they had plans for single player DLC. It's been sort of much reported in rumor. It just hasn't. It didn't happen. GTA Online, the tractor of GTA Online, crushed everything underneath it.
So, Brian, back to your question about Vice City Easter eggs returning in the new version of GTA 6. I've made a little list, Dan. I think we should go through them. I think I've listed them in terms of probability, but let's see. I want to get your take on them to see if any of these things are going to happen.
Yeah.
We have got from Vice City the literal Easter egg. Now, obviously, I'm going to assume that everyone who's listening to this has played Vice City, but maybe not. So
we're issuing a 20-year-old spoiler alert.
No. The Easter eggs aren't spoilers, I don't think. But if you go to the northern area of the West Island of Vice City, you can see a news building, which is the 810 VCN building. If you enter this from the ground floor, you are transported up to the roof, and then you can find a building opposite it with a window with a light on it. If you jump into that window, even though it looks like you're going to jump to your death, you actually appear in a room that has a literal Easter egg in the middle of it, sitting on top of a stand in the middle of the room. I think maybe not that specific location, but something like that. I can see that being it, like a hidden door that never opens. You just jump through a bit of the scenery and then you're inside something that leads to an Easter egg. I can see that happening.
I agree.
Good. 10 out of 10 for that one. Put
10
that
out of
in.
10. Blimey. I mean, look, 9 because
the next one's 10. And you can't go out.
Let's cross that bridge. And I'm sorry, I'm starting on a 9.
Okay,
it's not going to get higher than a 9, or will it? Let's find out.
Well, okay. That one, I think, in some form will definitely be in there. The Rockstar logo inside a swimming pool. If you fly over Starfish Island in Vice City, there's a swimming pool that you can see in the backyard of a large mansion, which is shaped like the Rockstar Games logo. A recreation of that in GTA 6 has to be more likely than a literal Easter egg. You've given the literal Easter egg 9 out of 10. Then the only number we can go to is 10 out of 10.
It's a 9 again. It's just look,
how does this work?
Because we don't know, do we? So like I think it's very probable, but I'm going to say 9.
Okay, well,
9's a high. High is good.
we're not getting into the point something, 9.5.
I almost said 9.1, but I knew you wouldn't like it,
okay.
So I've just stuck at 9.
Well, look, as we Rockstar have featured their logo in every game in the Grand Theft Auto series since the 3D Universe debut.
A solid 9.
Still in like that.
Well, no.
So it's happened in every single game to date, but we're still not going to say it's going to be in this one.
All right, well, I'll say 9.7 then, because there's a chance they might not. The past does not represent the future, as they say in their forward-looking financial statements.
Well,
they may decide to do something different. I mean, look, the odds are stacked against it, and I think they will. Hence the 9 out of 10 probability.
Okay. Fine. Well, then I thought those were almost nailed on. So as we go down this list, it's going to get
all right.
It's going to get fun, spicy. There is the airport of Vice City is named the Escobar International Airport, a nod to Pablo Escobar.
Yeah.
Will this carry over to GTA 6? Is the Vice City airport going to be called Escobar International Airport? This one is I'm more on the lower end of the scale.
Really?
I think this is more of a 2 or a 3.
Ooh.
For the Vice City airport. Do I think there will be an airport in the game called the Escobar Airport? Yes. Will that be like the main airport of Vice City? Probably not.
I mean, this one is clearly a 10. No, I don't know. I agree. I think even that reference and that joke actually feels not that contemporary for a modern audience. So I think it's probably for that reason alone less likely to be a thing. It's also debatably politically contentious, but like it's just people. I don't think many people now are thinking about Pablo Escobar day to day. So I don't feel that strongly about that.
Yeah, it was more. That's like a good 80s reference for the game set in the 80s.
Yeah,
when the game's set in 2020 X, whatever it ends up being,
feels a bit distant. Again, you never know, but it feels distant.
Well, then let's jump over to something that, is even more contentious, the moon landing. This is a recreation in a film studio. Inside one of the recording rooms, you can find the moon landing being recreated with Apollo 13 and the American flag both being there represented. Obviously, this is a reference to the moon landing conspiracies. Were they actually faked, recorded in a recording studio, a bit like they're being referenced here, or was it done in real life? And finally then, Apartment 3C. I think most people know what this is, but there's a bathroom within Vice City. It's completely covered in blood where you find the secret chainsaw weapon. Obviously, a reference to Scarface. It's very similar apartment, same kind of thing. Will there be... Well, I guess there's two questions here. Will there be a chainsaw in GTA 6 as a secret weapon? Maybe. And will there be a reference to Scarface, or is this going to be updated to something a little bit more modern?
Yeah, the reference now feels a bit Scarface, but I think the reference to the reference works in that super noodly ultra GTA fan way. I think any modern game Scarface is quite old now.
Yes.
But I think the idea of including it purely for people who remember the last game, possibly.
Yeah, I can see that being in there. Will it have the weapon in there, or just maybe a homage to it? Like, a statue of it or something that you can't actually pick up. Maybe that feels better these days, but, equally running around. I think it's another thing of that was the vibe of Vice City in the 80s setting allowed you to have a Hawaiian shirt on and almost recreate Scarface because it felt relevant at the time, even though we were playing it in the 90s and 2000s. Yeah. But
it's a 2000s game referencing the 80s in a very authentic-ish way. Now we're in the 2020s. In the 2020s, as we believe, it looks like GTA 6 is modern day, right? So it's like
we have to be referencing things from the early 2000s.
Yeah, that would be the 80s was 40 plus years ago, so quite a long time.
Yeah. Grand Theft Hamlet. Now, I don't know if you know about Grand Theft Hamlet, Dan, but this is actually a recreation of Shakespeare's Hamlet.
Yes.
That has come to GTA Online. It's been made into a docu-film type thing. It's actually being released in UK cinemas and digitally released on the 6th of December before going on to Mubi. Is that how we say that?
I think
MUBI?
that's how I would say it. It might also be wrong, but that's how I would say it.
Well, let's go with Mubi then.
Yeah. Mubi.
Before being released on Mubi in early 2025, this is like a documentary by two out-of-work actors who tried to do a full production of Shakespeare's Hamlet inside GTA Online during lockdown. It's shot entirely in the game and just sort of follows them as they try to like recruit actors. They try and then get people, someone to come and film the scenes, all trying to do it in a semi-closed lobby, but there were still people who come in and, you know, get rocket launchers out and kill each other. It's quite interesting. It's won awards. It's won a documentary feature jury award at South by Southwest 2024, and it's been nominated for 4 BIFAs. Don't know what they are. That's the thing I got told. I don't know what BIFAs are.
Yeah.
I will look them up right now. The first result is the British International Freight Association, but I'm not sure they're winning the award from them.
Is that for a shipping award?
Yeah, it's the British Independent Film Awards.
Yeah,
there we go. So they've been nominated for 4 of those. I've sat down and watched it. It's an interesting thing to watch, in that it's also a telling of two people who are sort of finding out about GT Online for not the first time, but like it seems to be, especially for one of them, the first time that they've spent a significant amount of time in the game. So, for example, they come across the Vinewood Bowl and they're like, oh, wow, look at this. It's a massive stage area. We could do something here. Let's do Hamlet. You know, that's how that conversation seems to have gone, rather than let's start small and see if we can just, you know, film a little skit. It was instantly into, let's just do the whole works of Shakespeare's Hamlet. But them finding that means that, you know, they haven't played it enough to know that would have existed in the game. It's not like they loaded it up and went, I know where we can do this from. It's this location here. Some of this might be storytelling in a film, in which like, you need to sort of stumble on it to make it feel a bit more like a story. But actually from watching it felt like more like that is the natural way things happened. The only unnatural bit about it is, I think, the start, which is clearly they had to make some kind of intro to the whole idea.
Yeah.
And that seems to have been added on to the front for me. If you get to go see it, it's on at the cinema in the UK. You can watch it on streaming. It's actually, you know, it might inspire you to go and do something else in GT Online that isn't basically what the game is designed for. And it's something that we are looking to do. This is my segue into it before we wrap up the show. But we have taken inspiration from that and are working on our own little special thing that's going to be set within the GTA Online universe. So if you have been a long-time follower of this show, please hit the subscribe button if you haven't already. Follow us on GTA B o'clock on Twitter, and that thing is coming soon, and hopefully you'll quite like it.
Will we win BIFAs or International Freight Shipping Award? Let's wait and see. But
possibly, I mean, it's not going to be a film. Let's not get people too excited.
No,
we're not making our own film within GTA Online, but we are doing something. So more details of that to come soon.
Maybe I can read aloud from the Peter Thiel book I referenced. No, I won't do that. That would be deeply weird.
If you would like a bit of story time at the end of these episodes, please let us know what you'd like in the comments.
As I read interesting words from a vaguely unhinged right-wing billionaire. Yeah, that would certainly have an audience. It was something I was interested in the audience's reaction to. The guys who made Grand Theft Hamlet, I saw today they were shipping around for interviews. Would you, the listener, be interested in us speaking to them? I don't know if that's even a good idea, because it sounds like they've come at it very much as actors entering this world, not like, not gamers deciding to bring Shakespeare to something they know really well. But I'm musing out loud. Would it be interesting to speak to them? I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, they're definitely not going to have any insight on GTA 6 or
I don't think
or
that's
maybe
what
even
it would
GTA
be.
5.
I think it's more of it's an for me, the interest is an outsider's, quote mark, observation on GTA and the nature of why it's so appealing.
Yeah, let
to
us
so
know.
many people.
Let us know in the comments. As I say, get in touch on Twitter, or you can email us gtavio@gmail.com. We will collect all of those things. We do read them all. Thank you for everyone who has been commenting the last few weeks. It's been really great to see the community growing. If you're listening on one of the podcast services, please give the show a little number of stars. 5 would be good, but hey, make your choice. It's up
Start
to you.
at 5.
Yeah. Don't start at 9.
Stay at 5.
9 out of 10. Start at 5 out of 5.
Yeah.
And then never go back down.
Yeah. Thank you.
So as I say, thank you for listening. Look out for that announcement of the GT Online thing that's coming soon. Hopefully it'll be around our first birthday if we're lucky, but let's see. And we will be back next week for another episode of GTA 6 O'Clock.